All right, let's dive right in and unpack the true implications of this story. Today, we're zeroing in on a rapid-fire political report that recently dropped as an ABP News short. We're going to examine just one incredibly loaded sentence from their broadcast to really decode the high-stakes, behind-closed-doors negotiations happening right now. You know, when you watch these fast-paced breaking news clips, it's so easy to just let the sheer velocity of the information wash over you, right? But if you hit pause and actually dissect the phrasing, man, you uncover the entire blueprint of a massive political chess match. And that's exactly what we're doing in this explainer. We're taking this lightning-fast news break, slowing it way down, and looking at the heavy strategic maneuvers being deployed. The density of information here, it literally tells us everything we need to know about how political leverage is being weaponized in real time. So at the very core of this brief clip is one massive multi-million-dollar question. What exact condition has Abhishek Banerjee reportedly placed before the Congress Party? Well, in the world of political negotiations, especially when we're talking about opposition alliances, demands are absolutely the ultimate currency of power. This report hints at a highly specific transaction, and it perfectly illustrates how national alliances are built, tested, and honestly sometimes pushed right to their breaking point. Look, when you're dealing with a coalition of heavyweight regional leaders and established national parties, absolutely nothing is given away for free. Every single seat, every shiny title, every public endorsement, it all requires a counteroffer. By asking this core question, we're cutting straight through the usual political noise to see the actual cost of doing business. We're looking at a scenario where support is reportedly strictly conditional, and let me tell you, the price tag being floated here is astronomically high. This one condition reveals the exact pressure points being squeezed to secure regional dominance on a massive national stage. Okay, listen closely to the exact wording from the ABP broadcast. The anchor states, and I quote, "Sources are also saying that Abhishek Banerjee has placed a demand before the Congress to send Mamata Banerjee to the Rajya Sabha and make her the leader of the opposition in the upper house." Now, the explicit use of the word sources in this rapid-fire clip, that's a huge tell. It signals backdoor political channels and quiet behind-the-scenes diplomacy. In high-level political reporting, when explosive info like this gets leaked to a major network, it's almost never an accident. Actually, it's usually a highly deliberate tactic to, test the waters, gauge public reaction, or publicly turn up the heat on a negotiating partner, all without issuing a formal on-the-record ultimatum. By attributing it strictly to sources, everyone gets to keep a veil of plausible deniability. But make no mistake, the message is delivered loud and clear. Just by analyzing the text of this broadcast, you can practically feel the sheer political weight being thrown around. It's a brilliantly calculated leak, completely designed to shift the momentum of the ongoing talks. To really grasp the dynamics at play here, we've got to look at the fascinating power triangle this reported demand creates. First, you have Abhishek Banerjee initiating the move, right? He's the one holding the leverage. Then you've got the Congress Party on the receiving end, effectively backed into a corner, where they either have to accept these terms or risk fracturing the entire opposition alliance. And sitting right at the center of it all is Mamata Banerjee. Notice the deliberate separation here. It's super strategic. Abhishek Banerjee is acting as the tough negotiator, bartering for placement and title on behalf of his party leader. This setup is brilliant because it lets the top leadership remain totally above the fray, while the gritty transactional bargaining happens just one level down. It's a textbook negotiation tactic. The Congress Party is basically forced into a highly reactive stance. This demand drops the heavy burden of alliance unity squarely onto their shoulders. If they reject it, well, they risk being painted as the big obstacle to opposition solidarity. But if they accept it, they concede some massive ground. It's a perfectly executed pressure tactic that forces a really decisive move. And here's the thing, this isn't just some simple everyday request, no way. It's a highly deliberate two-step ultimatum. The first condition, sending Mamata Banerjee to the Rajya Sabha, requires Congress to actively use their own legislative math to secure her entry. Think about that. They're being asked to spend their own hard-earned political capital to facilitate her positioning. But the second goal? That is the ultimate prize, making her the leader of the opposition. This is entirely about bypassing Congress's own historical claims to that role and handing the Trinamool Congress the absolute premier leadership spot among all opposition parties. The first demand is really just the prerequisite. The second is a massive, seismic shift in national authority. By demanding the leader of the opposition title, this maneuver seeks to formally position the TMC as the preeminent opposition force. It effectively subordinates the Congress within the parliamentary hierarchy, completely rewriting the pecking order. I mean, we're looking at a demand that doesn't just ask for a seat at the table, it literally demands a head of the table. So where does this leave us? What does this brief, heavily loaded news clip really signify for the future dynamics of the opposition?
Look, whether this demand is ultimately accepted, rejected, or just watered down in the end, the simple fact that these sources are leaking it to the press reveals exactly which leverage points are being squeezed right now. It shows us, clear as day, exactly where the bargaining chips lie. If these specific conditions are actually met, the entire hierarchy of the opposition gets rewritten overnight. It would shift the center of gravity completely away from traditional power structures. But hey, even if it doesn't happen, the mere articulation of this demand proves that the internal battle for opposition supremacy is fierce, and it is definitely ongoing. So as you watch the political landscape shift over the next few months, keep this in mind. Ponder how these backdoor, whispered demands shape the alliances we eventually see playing out on the surface. Because nothing in politics happens in a vacuum, right? Today's leaked demand is very often tomorrow's political reality. Thanks so much for joining me to unpack this one. See you next time.